What's happening, guys? Today's video is a Windwalker Monk PvP and Arena guide for patch 5.4. In this video I'll be covering talents, glyphs, gems, stat priorities, and finally a few tips and tricks to enhance your arena experience as a Windwalker Monk. Before I begin, I just need to say that faction and race are purely preferential to you as a player. If, like myself, you are the min-maxing or meticulous type, then the choice of race based on racial skills or passives should already be clear to you. In all other cases, I do encourage you guys to play whatever race you prefer to look at. Moving on to the first discussion of topics, talents. Now, I'll be going over my current talent spec, as well as covering different options and expanding on the situationally dependent choices for said options. Tier 1 has a clear standout, and that is Tiger's Lust. Tiger's Lust not only gives you a 70% speed boost, but it also removes any immobility or movement impairing effects from either yourself or your target. As a Windwalker Monk in PvP, your mobility is your greatest asset second to self-healing, and anything that increases your ability to stay mobile and pump out CC or DPS is essential to maintaining a strong presence in the fight. Tier 2 is another clear favourite amongst Windwalker Monks. Chi Wave unleashes a projectile that bounces between you and your target, dealing damage to the enemy and healing you or any target within the radius upon each bounce, which I believe is 7 in total. This skill is on a short cooldown and should be used off cooldown on every chance, as it is amazing in increasing your survivability in a fight, especially when you've been stunned by a melee target and the missiles continue to give you heals while stunned. Tier 3 leaves you with two choices that are purely preferential and depend on how you decide to build and play your monk. The choices are Ascension and Chi Brew. I'm currently spec'd into Ascension. This passive increases your maximum total chi, which is the combo point utility for monks, by 1. This is great as it allows you to create combos much easier than if you had 4 total chi. Since your main buff, Tiger's Palm, costs 1 chi, and the rest of your DPS abilities cost 2, having 5 total chi allows for a smoother flow of combination attacks when keeping up your Tiger's Palm buff. This ability also increases energy regen, and this is essential as the more you have, the less downtime you have between attacks, allowing for a more consistent damage output. Your second choice is Chi Brew. Now this ability comes with 2 charges, and each charge gives the monk 2 chi and 2 stacks of Tiger Eye Brew. Tiger Eye stacks are hard to build up in arenas, as the targets are constantly moving and line of sighting you, so this ability is capable of giving you 4 stacks instantly, resulting in a shorter time span to gain 10 stacks for your burst. Choosing between the 2 of these talents is also dependent on your stat choices, but that will be covered later. Tier 4 has another 2 choices, Ring of Peace and Leg Sweep. Charging Ox is typically not taken, as the linear effect of this stun is simply not as effective as having a full 360-degree radius effect. Leg Sweep is an amazing 5-second stun and is a perfect situational stun against melee comps, forcing mages to blink or isolating enemy healers to make it easy to switch over to the enemy's DPS for bursting. Ring of Peace provides a massive AoE silence and disarm for 4 seconds, plus an additional silence and disarm for 4 seconds to enemies who attack you whilst inside the ring. This is effective against comps that rely heavily on spells, such as mages and DKs, and is also great in larger arenas such as 3s and 5s. The choice between the 2 is purely based on the comp you're facing. Tier 5 gives a choice between Healing Elixirs and Diffused Magic. Personally, I like to play my monk with as much survivability as possible, as frequently as possible. Healing Elixirs is on an 18-second cooldown and will instantly heal you for 15% of your total HP when you drop below 35% HP. It also gives you the 15% HP heal upon using any of your teas or brews, which is a great complement to your panic defensives, such as Nimble or Fortifying Brew. This skill works well with most comps except for teams with super spell burst damage. Diffused Magic is a 90% spell damage reduction, which clears and reverses all magic effects back to the caster. It lasts 6 seconds on a 1.5 minute cooldown. This skill is amazing when up against high burst Destro locks to avoid those finishing Chaos Bolts. Due to the fact that it is on a massive cooldown, I tend to only take this ability when I am up against very specific comps, and I mostly rely on healing elixirs during arenas. The final tier contains another two situational choices, Rushing Jade Wind and Invoke Zuin. Rushing Jade Wind replaces Spinning Crane Kick and is the same AoE ability, however it allows for you to continue using all of your abilities during the skill animation and doesn't lock your monk until the spin is finished like Spinning Crane Kick does. This skill is fantastic in arenas, not only for generating increased DPS but also for catching those pesky stealth toons off guard. Your other option is Invoke Zuin. Although this tiger lasts 45 seconds and puts out higher damage than Rushing Jade Wind does, it deals AoE damage. This is risky as it can break a lot of much needed CC. If you are able to communicate well with your partner and macro effectively to control your pet and avoid unnecessary CC breaks, the tiger can prove to be extremely nifty in arenas. The choice between the two remains yours, and I tend to pick Rushing Jade Wind against stealth and melee comps, and the Invoke Zuin Tiger against ranged or caster comps. In this next section, we will be going over glyphs. For Windwalker monks, there are only a few distinct choices for glyph selection, and these are as follows. Glyph of Touch of Death, which allows you to cast Touch of Death for no cheat cost, at the expense of an increased cooldown which is not important at all. The fact that you can cast this ability at no cost means that you increase your chances of eliminating the target as you so desire, rather than chasing the target down trying to gain enough chi to cast Touch of Death, giving the enemy a window of opportunity to escape death and recover their presence in the fight. Glyph of Paralysis is pretty straightforward. This glyph removes dots from the target, which removes the risk of your sap breaking and allowing the target to remain in the sap for the full duration, or forcing a trinket. Finally, Glyph of Touch of Karma. This glyph is absolutely essential as it allows you to use your Touch of Karma at range. Most targets in the arena will either be attacking you from a range or kiting you. The ability to get this important defensive off is essential to your survival, so giving the monk the advantage of being able to cast this at a range is simply increasing your survivability by a ridiculous amount. So far, I don't think any other monks have used other glyphs, as they just don't seem as effective in PvP as the ones I have covered. With that being said, there are several other options that may suit your playstyle, as everybody plays differently, but you cannot go wrong with these glyphs in PvP. It's now time to go over gems and enchants. This section isn't too complicated. I use Delicate Primordial Rubies for my red sockets, which give 160 agility, Deadly Vermilion Onyx for my yellow sockets, which give 80 agility and 160 crit, Assassin's Imperial Amethyst for my blue sockets, which give 80 agility and 80 PvP power, and finally Agile Primal Diamond for my meta socket, which gives 216 agility and 3% increased critical effect. For my shoulder enchant, I use 200 agility and 100 crit, Cloak enchant is 180 crit, Chest enchant is 80 to all stats, Wrists or braces are enchanted to 180 agility, Gloves are enchanted to 170 mastery, Legs are enchanted to 285 agility and 165 crit, Boots are enchanted to 140 agility and the minor speed increase, and finally my weapons are enchanted to double Dancing Steel, which provides amazing DPS as both can proc at the same time. If you simply cannot afford double Dancing Steel, then your next option is double Windsong. I do not currently have any profession enchants. Now in this section I'll be covering stat priorities for PvP Windwalker monks. The stat order is as follows: 3% melee hit, 3% expertise, agility, crit, mastery, and haste. The 3% hit cap is a necessity in PvP so that none of your abilities miss, and the same thing goes for expertise, so that none of your abilities are dodged and have a very tiny parry chance. Agility is the main stat for a Windwalker monk, and it not only increases your damage output, but also increases your healing abilities, which you rely on heavily as a monk to remain in the fight for as long as possible. Second to agility is crit. and this stat is pretty straightforward. The more frequently you crit, the bigger numbers you produce in both heals and damage. You will want to have at minimum 25% crit chance, with an optimal number being closer to the 50 mark. Now for Mastery. Mastery is incredibly important, and I mentioned something in the talent section that I will now cover. Mastery increases your chance to generate an additional Tiger Eye Brew stack upon normal stack generation. If you choose to overlook the Chi Brew talent as a monk, then Mastery is more important to you, and may even be seen as a 1-to-1 ratio with crit chance. Without the ability to instantly generate 4 stacks of Tiger Eye Brew with Chi Brew, Mastery becomes more important in reaching the 10 stack limit to start your bursting as soon as possible. Finally, we reach Haste, and Haste not only increases your attack speed, but more importantly, your energy regeneration. The more energy regeneration you possess, the less downtime you will have during your DPS combinations in a fight. It also means you can heal yourself more frequently with your healing spears, and not have to worry about running out of energy to quickly begin DPSing after you've finished healing up. Finally, I'll cover a few tips and tricks I've learned along the way as a Windwalker monk, and although some of these may seem simplistic or straightforward, you may not have considered how they could increase your effectiveness in the arena. Firstly, I'd like to begin with your combo generation at the beginning of a fight. In most fight scenarios, you'll want to single out your target by paralyzing the target's partner and moving straight into your double jab, Tiger's Palm and Fist of Fury opener. In this situation, you would have hopefully forced the partner to trinket with your paralysis and have already dealt a significant amount of damage on your target. When you are beneath 90% HP, you will want to use Expel Harm instead of Jab as your 2-point Chi generator. This means that you are replacing Jab with Expel Harm and not simply using Expel Harm into a Jab, as this will decrease your damage output and increase the time span taken to generate Tiger Eye stacks. The usual DPS rotation after you have obtained full Chi is to Tiger Palm into a Rising Sun kick into your Blackout kicks, following up with your Disarm and Jab into Blackout kicks until Rising Sun kick is off cooldown. Rinse and repeat. Sometimes saving your Touch of Karma may not be the right thing to do. If you are part of a comp in which you possess the largest amount of CC, there is a good chance that the enemy will open on you first, especially if you are facing a stealth comp. If you assume the enemy team will open with their burst on you, such as Rogue's typical opener combo, or a warrior engaging with Bladestorm, your best bet is to pop Karma straight away and stay inside their damage to get as much of the reflect bonus off as possible. Do not ever overlook your disable ability. The fact that it can both slow and root on second use means you should have this debuff up on both your targets as much as possible. In the arena, you will find a lot of enemies kiting you. Monks rely heavily on mobility, and so people will attempt to keep you controlled and kite you. Do not be afraid to use your paralysis to give you a chance to catch up to your target, as it's not only needed to remove healers or other DPSs from the fight. Finally, a few skills that are overlooked in arenas as Windwalker monks. These are Spinning Fire Blossom, Crackling Jade Lightning, and Zen Meditation. Spinning Fire Blossom is great when you understand how to aim with its strange projectile mechanic, which seems to be like an auto lock when aimed within a few short units of the target. It is great for two reasons. You are able to deal damage to the enemy whilst rooted and potentially root them, and if you happen to have a lot of Chi saved up, it consumes your Chi, which gives you the chance to get those Tiger Eye stacks a lot faster. Secondly, Crackling Jade Lightning, which I find is a great ability to Gimp Warriors openers and DK pulls. It also helps getting those pesky rogues away from you, as you can spin around into a Crackling Jade Lightning, knock them away and hit them with a paralysis. Finally, Zen Meditation, and this skill is fantastic for eating hunter traps as well as removing unpleasant magical effects such as Frostbomb from yourself when timed correctly. This skill is a lifesaver against warlocks with Chaos Bolt and Shadow Burns, as that massive damage mitigation will diminish what burst potential their skills had at finishing you off. I hope you guys have enjoyed my video, and it would please me if this video has helped you in the slightest in becoming a better Windwalker monk. Please feel free to leave your feedback and correct me where you think I'm wrong. Continue to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for all of your support, Have a good one and take it sleazy, guys.